On the foothills of this mountain range in central Chile lies a large rural estate the size of Liechtenstein. Horst Schaffrich was 3 years old when his parents and 300 other German immigrants came here in 1962 to establish a commune. Their leader was self-proclaimed Pastor Paul Schaeffer, a former Nazi who turned the so-called Dignity Colony into a prison. For 40 years, unimaginable things happened.
From the age of 8, I was beaten and abused. We lived in a nightmare, in purgatory, in a hell. That's why today I want it understood that we still live in an injustice.
Horst and his wife Helga, who was born here, had no formal education and worked 7 days a week with no pay. From infancy, children were separated from their parents, and the boys sexually abused by Schaeffer. Young and old were beaten and drugged to keep them docile.
Almost every day someone had to be beaten for 20 minutes, and everyone had to take turns hitting the victim with a pole.
The community was under permanent surveillance and kept within electrified fences. But some of the colonists did manage to escape through this thick forest to neighboring farms or to the nearby town of Paral. And when that happened, Paul Schaeffer would call the local police, which was in his pay. There are documented cases to prove it. And when that happened, the police would bring the escapees right back here. Lawyer WINFRIED HEMPHEL was also born in the commune. I met him 6 years ago when he was preparing a lawsuit against the German and Chilean states for their alleged negligence and complicity in the suffering of the colonists. In May, Germany agreed to pay up to $11,000 to victims as a token gesture. But since Chile has not agreed to settle out of court, the lawsuit will now go ahead.
The Chilean state ended where the colony began, led by a perverted, sadistic pedophile who collaborated with the Pinochet dictatorship and corrupted all the institutions in the area. In the 21st century, there was a slave camp before the eyes of the Chilean state.
Horst is among the 80 or so colonists who remain on the property, now called Villa Baviera. Like almost all the men, he suffers from acute back pain from years of forced labor. And with no pension or savings, the couple is struggling to overcome economic hardship and psychological trauma.
We want the government to help us receive justice, because authorities knew what was happening here and did nothing.
The lawsuit is for $1 million for each of the 117 plaintiffs. It may help compensate, they say, but never erase the horrors that they still live with. Lucia, Newman, Al Jazeera, Paral, Chile.